Hello.
Hi.
We're live again.
Here
today.
we are.
Wow. Feels like it's been a short day.
Yeah, it went quick.
It went quick.
It
Yes.
did. We even got to eat.
We did.
Some days it seems like
It's now
lunch?
before we get to eat. Yeah.
Wait, what? Yeah.
Oh.
So welcome to Wednesday,
Yeah.
and
Welcome Wednesday.
welcome to that what she said.
Yeah.
Yeah. So have you gotten to do anything fun in your sewing room
No.
or your sewing space?
My sewing spaces. Yesterday I couched in the living room.
As in sat on? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, exactly.
Sat on the
No,
couch while you couched?
I did. I sat behind the couch and couched. So yeah, that was, it's kind of nice to be able to sit up in the living room and work. The spaces they're segregating nicely now. I finally think I have a plan. I still just have so much stuff. Yeah. And I am bound and determined to purge the stuff that I am no longer going to use. You know, that my tastes have changed.
That does happen over a 20-year period, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
And organize the stuff that is left in a way that makes it super easy for me
To actually locate what you're looking for?
locate it. Yeah. And
Yeah, it's a lot harder than it sounds.
it is. And I'm trying to put things like, you know, my straight stitch machine is downstairs. So I'm going to make bags downstairs. It makes sense for me to keep, you know,
The buckles and
the cork and the vinyl and all that stuff that I use for there and organize all that stuff. It makes sense to leave that near that space. So, you know, I'm not embroidering downstairs anymore. I'm not going to embroider on my Brittany. I'm going to embroider on my brother. So I moved that machine upstairs. So that stuff came upstairs with me. So, you know, I'm just trying to
segregate and organize.
spread the love.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's definitely a process.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I've redone this room more than one time in the 5 years that we've been there. So
Isn't that crazy how long that's been?
I know. And I think I for a long time I kept stuff just because I was like, oh, what if I'm going to need it again? And
Well, you know how that works. It's right after you get rid of it is when you need it.
yeah,
So.
but I'm just to the point where I'll just buy it again.
Sometimes it's easier than storing it and finding it and
right. Like I mean, I'm not gonna do anything with this flannel. I haven't done anything with it in 20 years. You know.
time to let it go.
Let it go. I'm not gonna make this cat sweatshirt. It's time to let that pattern go. You know.
Not gonna applique those.
I'm not gonna applique those cats on my sweatshirts. I should do one for everyone here, and then we all have to wear them.
No.
It's our Novi
No.
uniform. Yes.
It is not. I know.
I'll do
saw
a dog
those.
for you.
Still no. Nope.
Oh, yeah. You know.
They were not my
Not
style.
your style. No.
I don't even think they were my style 20 years ago.
Some ruffled sweatshirts for you. Yeah.
You know, I do remember seeing a jean jacket that had lace coming out, and I was like, those are kind of pretty. I would do that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that that's really a style I would purchase, but I would wear that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's things that I would wear that I wouldn't purchase.
How did your shoe things, were they strong?
My shoe thing.
Yeah, for your shelf, for your fabrics?
Actually, they are better than I expected.
That's good.
I've got a kit in it. So I found some plastic shoe boxes. They actually have a door on the front instead of like a lid.
Mm-hmm.
And so the plastic ends that you snap in the piece, they're hard plastic on the ends. And so they actually do a pretty good job of solidifying them. So, I mean, I don't think I could put like, 100 pounds in there and be good, but I think they're going to work for what I need. So I'll have to bring a couple in here. And
yeah, because there's nothing worse than getting, like we were talking about, getting a plastic container and then you put weight on top of the plastic
that
container.
middle part sags. You
And
know, we all loved sagging things, right?
Right? You can't get your drawer or your door open.
Because
just no
it's in
fun.
the way of the bottom on top or the bottom of it or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so no, I think they're gonna work.
Yeah.
So.
I figure at the rate that I'm going, by next year, January, I'm going to be good. How about you?
Something to that effect. So, that was one of the things that I said, all right, this year is going to be the year of organizing, because it's not going to be, I'm not going to call it my resolution or whatever you want to term things, but it's just, I need to get my life in order. And I mean, my life in like big terms of, there's stuff that, you know, we put in this house when we moved there over 8 years ago. We haven't touched it.
Right.
So do we really need it? Yeah, I mean, the front closet we filled with coats and boots and, you know, miscellaneous things, and pretty much don't ever open that door.
Yeah.
It was really cute. So we cleaned, and Jeff, my husband, and I, we were like, okay, we're going to do like 2 to 3 hours, and then we're going to go and do other things. So, you know, we're not going to take the whole day. We're just going to take a little bit of time. And I'm like, okay, well, let's do this. And he's like, well, we could do the front closet. And he opens the door and he looks at it and he's like, nobody sees this. We'll do this later. And he closes the door.
Later.
I just had to laugh. I was like, yeah, I don't want to do that either.
Yep.
I'm like, yeah, let's do something else. We'll see, and we'll feel like we accomplished something, because, you know, behind a closed door,
Right.
even if it was beautiful, you wouldn't.
Behind the closed door.
It's behind a closed door. So I just thought it was really cute. He opened it, he looked at it, he was like, yeah, let's do something else.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought it was pretty funny.
Well, we kind of been doing that at the shop too. So we're definitely cleaning,
we are purging,
and moving stuff around again, and it's been it's kind of been a theme for us this year.
So yeah, I did buy, you know, different shelving things for upstairs, and I've been slowly in my sewing room, so it doesn't look like the video anymore either. So there's things that have moved around, and trying to make things make more sense and flow better, and things like that, because, you know, when you get up there and you finally have some time,
you just want to sew.
You want to just be able to find what you can need, and not have to be like, no, where did I put that again? And so I've been trying. So.
Yeah, computer storage is also a thing. Someday we'll have to we'll do a live on organizing your computer. And
I can spend hours doing that.
Yeah, keeping your computer organized as well. So it looks like we have a good smattering of people joining us. So
welcome, Florence.
Yeah, she's new here. Great to have you. You never know what's going to happen with Lisa and I here. So
nope.
We make no promises. That we try to keep it PG, but sometimes
the things you say in a sewing aspect just don't come out quite like you.
Sound wrong.
Sometimes. So I don't think we're going to run into any of that today, but you just never know.
No,
but
you never know. We
don't.
We try to have a little bit of fun with this. So we are Baby Lock and a Brother dealer. So we sell both Baby Lock palette software and Brother PE software. But we've also been a Dime and a Floriani dealer for many years. So we have lots of customers who have
a little bit of this,
a little bit of this, and a little bit of that.
Or maybe a little bit of all of them.
Yeah. Some have more than one software, and we have been talking a lot more about the Brother and Baby Lock software lately, because there are some unique things that go with our top of the line machines, but there's some really fun, unique things about this software, and you use this software to do a lot of your the Kimberbell stuff when we're digitizing between the two. So we thought it would be fun to show this, because we talked a little bit about the edge-to-edge quilting last week, and we talked a little bit about we glazed about the tool shed, and one of the reasons why Emily,
Miss
Scott's designs, because she's using these for her new program, this particular file extension that this works in here. So we thought that we would show you guys. I mean, when we digitize for the Kimberbell stuff, it's not a secret of how we're doing it. So it's not some well-kept secret that we're trying to keep undercover. So we thought maybe we would give a little lesson on maybe how we go about finding some inspiration in a design.
Yeah. So this is what we've got on screen. Is in the upper left-hand corner is the title of it. So this is going to say Embroidery Tool Shed. What the system is basically all of the Dime programs fall inside the tool shed.
Yep.
So once you pick up a piece of their tools, you will find it underneath there. So in the bottom right-hand corner, I don't know if, does this work? Nope, not in this one. That's not carried over in Windows 11. Used to be if you hit your control, they would like show your where your cursor was.
Oh yeah,
They're
it probably isn't working in the software.
in the software while it's in there. Anyway,
Yeah.
or with the live part of that. So Tool Shed has some basic features that, and it's completely free to download Tool Shed. That is not going to give you the digitizing aspects.
No.
That's not what we're talking about. The Tool Shed holds all of the tools.
Yes.
So down in
Kind
the right,
of like the tool shed.
exactly. So all the way down in the right-hand corner, you can see my mouse moving a little bit down here. Keep going down there. There's a green shopping cart. And if you hit the shopping cart, it will pop up the different programs. So you see I own a couple of them. Anything that's got that yellow check mark there means that I have that installed. So when I scroll down here, there's a few things at the bottom which are newer. In the middle, I guess, not at the bottom, that I don't have. But Lace Maker, I've talked about Lace Maker. I've taught some classes on Lace Maker. There are quite a few new things. The Stitch Viewer is actually a program that just allows you to actually see a icon of your design instead of just a blank a word and then like the A for Adobe or something like that. You actually can see an image of the heart or the whatever it happens to be. So there's lots of different things that are available, and this just gives you a listing of all of those. And you can change what your tools are across the top of the screen by selecting which program you want to have as your, at that time, default. So right now, the one that is blue, you can see, at least depending on how large your screen is, you can see that the blue there is what I have as my default. But if you're changing that, you can click on those little dots there, and you can literally say that's the one that I want to be
Your primary.
your primary person. Your person.
Your person.
Make it your person.
Your software person.
Your software person, right. So up at the top, these are all of my tools for PEP, which is Perfect Embroidery Pro. If I wanted to switch into the quilt embellisher, I could come down and make that my default. And none of the pop-ups are showing. That's awesome. Good to know. So when I click on those three little dots down in the bottom right-hand corner, I apologize, you can't see pop-ups, but sometimes pop-ups don't work when you're sharing your screen.
Yeah.
There is a pop-up that comes that gives me three different options. The top one is make default. The next one is manual, which means it will give me the manual for that program. And the next is tutorial, which is exactly what it sounds like. So if I wanted my tools to change, I could click that make default and it would change to the embellisher tools instead of the PEP tools.
Yep.
So it's that simple to hop between your programs when you are in the tool shed. So everything that you get from Dime will be in that little shopping cart, and you can bounce between them super easy.
Which is relatively new, maybe 2 years
Couple
now.
years, yeah.
Yeah. So if you, if you kind of have Dime software before the divorce, so Dime and Floriani were one, and then they split. And
they were separate, like all of their programs were still separate for a while after the divorce, quote unquote.
Yes.
But in the last few years, they've combined everything into
this tool shed.
this tool shed. And again, we're specifically talking about Dime now for the tool shed.
It is kind of nice because, sometimes you can't find software.
Right.
You've got so many different things. So it
So
is
many
nice that it
things.
will all
be
everything
in
that
one-
works
in one space.
in here will be in one space. So Sharon asked, what software does Brother have? We'll talk, we're not ignoring you, but we're going to get going on this one, but we are going to talk a little bit about the things that are different. So we'll glaze over that in just a little while. So we see your question, and I promise we'll answer that.
All right, so I'm gonna just click off of my purchases there, and I'm clicking on my sequence. So you can see when I add something to the screen, you'll see the different stitch things adding into that box in that lower right-hand corner now instead of the different programs that I have. So when you have a screen here, when you first open the program, it's going to be gray. There's no white screen there. So you will start by either opening a design in the upper left-hand corner, or you can click on the blue piece. It's like a piece of paper there, which is the new. Either one will get you that white. When you open something, it'll open the white box with your file on there, or it will give you a new one. When you click on that white, you'll get a entirely new screen. You can have multiple designs open, and you can toggle between them, which I personally love. I find that I copy something from one file and pull it into another a lot. That's how I save myself a lot of time, is I will open the base of one file and use it as the base for the next piece. So I don't have to recreate all of those. Sometimes I recreate it and start from scratch, but if I already know where there's a base that is exactly what I need, I'll take the base from a file that's finished and then just build the new things on top of that. And so, for instance, this is one I have across the bottom, and I know it doesn't really look like anything right now, but I am working on a quilting pattern with balloons, and so I have a whole bunch of balloons all over the place, and there is a square underneath of that is my actual batting lines. So it looks really crazy, but I've copy and pasted some different things in here on top of a base. It's really what that is. But let's just start from scratch for the purpose of teaching.
Yes.
All right, so if what we really said we were going to talk about today was creating a background quilting file. So you can have those be just about anything. And inspiration, sometimes you have a specific thought in mind when you come into it. And sometimes you're like, I have no idea what I'm going to do. And you need to be inspired. So a lot of times I will go to the internet and I'll type in clip art of fill in the blank. So whatever it is that you are, big topic of what the file is supposed to be about. So if we were doing the spring showers quilt, I typed in clouds. Or sun or
rain or whatever.
Doesn't matter. Mushrooms. You pick it. You can, generically type in something. And if you use the word clip art or black and white or line drawing of or something like that, I find that I can get the most amount of ideas that way. When I first started doing this, I used the word quilting, and I didn't get a lot of things. I thought that I would, but you really don't. So using clip art or black and white or silhouette or something like that, I find I get more images that I'm able to use. So those are my little cheat words, if you will. And I find that I have some good luck with those. So I go to my Google or whatever search engine that you use. I type in that, and then I will clip and save those pictures for my own inspiration. And I have a folder that quilting ideas. And I just dump them into that folder, and that's what I do. What about you?
I do pretty much the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I've taken a lot of random screenshots on my phone and in places like that, and again, just dump them in a community file.
In a folder,
so that I can reference back to them. And sometimes I segregate, after I've used the files, I might move them someplace else. But it's good to have a general
home that I can go look there, and that's where I'm going to find them.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, we were talking a little bit ago about computer organization. If you know where to go look, that's half the battle.
That's half the battle.
So if you, don't have 12 different folders in different places, it's easier to know, one, where to save it, and two, where to go find it after the fact. Where did I save it? Well, if it's not in 12 different options, you're going to find it a lot faster.
It's a little quicker, yes.
So even if that means there's more in that folder, you're still going to find it faster. So try not to have too many places that you save things in. And in that aspect, I don't personally prefer the downloads folder because there's way too many things that go in there.
Oh, me too.
So find a place and save it specifically to that place. So that is where I find generally my inspiration. once you have that, you need to have a base. So I do, like I said, sometimes steal that from somewhere else that I've already done it because we've done this enough now. I already have a 4x4 base built, but just for kicks and giggles, let's show you guys how to do that too.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
So you have a design size that you want to work with.
Yep.
So let's do like 6x6.
6x6. So on this screen, you've got some text tools in the upper left-hand corner, and I'm trying to move my mouse around so you can see different things highlighting there. And right now, most of this stuff is all grayed out, and that's because we don't have anything on screen. Up above those, you can see some things highlighting as I'm moving around, and those are the different tools for you to create. So we do have an actual artwork tool that allows us to add shapes on screen. And I find that that's the easiest way to do it, to do a shape. So if you click the drop down arrow, which again, I apologize, you can't see drop downs, but when I click that little arrow up at the top there, it says pen, which means I literally can draw a rectangle, which is either a square or a rectangle, depending upon what I'm drawing the shape of, an ellipse, which is some sort of circular, and then I have a whole listing of different types of shapes. So this time, like we said, we wanted to draw a square. So I'm going to choose my rectangle tool, which apologies, you can't see that portion. But now you can hopefully see that my cursor has changed to a crosshair with, I'm trailing a square around on my page, which means wherever I draw is now going to draw a square.
And the side of your screen.
Yep, over on the right.
We're all pointing to it like
we're
you can
pointing
see
like
it.
you can totally see us pointing. You know, can't you see that? Over in the upper right-hand corner on my screen, it says artwork, type, opacity, all of those different things. So there's some properties that are already starting to pop up. So somewhere on my screen, I need to draw a square. I don't have to be specific because it's super easy to adjust it. I just need to get a square on screen to start something going. So on my mouse, which I don't want to use a trackpad. If you are digitizing, which means you're creating stitches, whether I'm actually click, 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 creating them stitch by stitch, or whether I'm doing it like this, you definitely need a mouse. You do not want to do this with the trackpad because you will be pulling your hair out
For sure.
very, very quickly. So if you are doing any sort of creating of designs, you definitely need to be using a mouse. When I click, it's going to be your standard click. So if I say back click, that was going to be your secondary. So in my case, I am right-handed. So my regular click is going to be with my pointer finger, which is the left for me. And if I back click, it's going to be my middle finger, which is going to be the right side. So if I say that, that's what I mean. I'm not going to say that over and over again. So that's just for the rest of my little hour here.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
When we basically are saying click, we are assuming
The
that
standard click, if I say back click, it's the other.
Yes.
And to start and stop things, it does make a difference which click of the mouse that you are doing.
Yep.
All right. So on my screen, you can see the plus sign and a square. I'm going to click and hold my mouse in while I'm dragging. And you can see I can move this all over the place. You can see I can have a rectangle or I can have a square. It, again, doesn't specifically matter because I can change the size after the fact. I just need to get something on screen. I don't have to do any additional clicking. As soon as I let go of my mouse, it's going to make that shape right there. I do have a grid on screen, so I can get pretty close to a size if I'm trying to aim for something specific. So I'm just going to let go, and I now have a square on screen, which is pretty close to a 2x2 square. If I come up on the top over here, I can use these different pieces to kind of see what's what. But what I really want to do is I want to select that particular piece. So I can try to select by clicking. But if you notice, I don't have an arrow.
No.
And I can't select it without an arrow.
Just make another box, right?
I'm just going to make another box. So to get my arrow back, I go and click on the arrow.
How many times have I done that, right?
Right. I mean,
I'm
we've
still
all
in
done it.
digitizing and I'm trying to click my design.
right? So if we are in digitizing mode, we still don't have an arrow. So I need to select. So I need to get my select arrow. And to do that, I simply need to click on my select tool. And now I have an arrow. And lo and behold, I now have a whole different look to my page. So I can select that by clicking on it. I can also select it by coming all the way down here in my lower right-hand corner and selecting it. And you can see it's highlighted there. I also have different information in my upper right-hand corner. So I have this transform box that has magically appeared. And when I tap on that, like I said, I was pretty close to a 2x2. It is 2.04 by 2.01. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unclick the maintain aspect ratio, because what that would do is keep it by that exact proportions. And I don't want it even to be that slightly bit off. I want it to be exactly a square. So I'm going to uncheck that box. And we said we wanted it to be 4x4.
We said 6x6.
Oh,
but 4
we
by
said
4
6x6. I said 4x4 before you said that. My bad. So we said 6, and you said 6.
I did.
And 6. So I'm just going to come up here, and again, I'm in the upper right-hand corner. I clicked on transform. I typed in 6x6, and it let me do that because I unchecked the maintain aspect ratio, which means it's going to allow me to alter that shape. And I click apply. When I click apply, that changed. And oh my goodness, it disappeared.
It did.
And the reason that it did is because my screen is not big enough at the moment to show me that. So all I have to do is zoom out to where I have a 6x6 field of vision. And lo and behold, there's my whole box. So what I drew on screen was artwork.
Yes.
Which means I drew a box.
You drew a box. Good job.
But what I didn't draw was stitches.
No.
And I do need those to be stitches to do me any real good in my embroidery hoop.
It helps, doesn't it?
It
the
does
machine
help.
is particular about that.
So if any of you have been, trying to learn how to do this, and you drew that box and you're like, why isn't it working? You probably hadn't converted it to stitches.
Yep.
So one of the things that I find to be excessively easy in the Dime software is the conversion. There's this wonderful thing. I'm going to back click on my stitches here. So I have them selected again, and I'm down in the right-hand corner over here. There's my artwork. I select that. I'm highlighting that so you can see that it's currently artwork. All right. I right click on my artwork, and there's this button that says convert to.
Look, the pop-up menu showed up.
And a pop-up menu magically appeared, which is really, really great because it makes so much more sense when you guys can see what's happening. You can only see one of the two that are on screen, but hey, we'll take it, right? So what I want that to be is a run stitch. So basically that's just going to be a straight line. So if we were doing a regular stitch for sewing, that's a run stitch. So I'm going to go
1, 2, 3, or 4.
Exactly. Center position, you pick one. That's a running stitch. So when I click run, it now changes that to a run stitch. Guess what? I now have stitches on screen.
Good job, Lisa.
It was literally that simple. So I don't have to be a magician. I don't have to be super smart. I don't have to be a fancy digitizer to make that happen. That is how simple it is to create stitches in the Dime software. If I wanted that to be a filled in box, like literally filled with stitches, it's also that simple to do that. I click on it, I go to convert to. A complex fill, which you can see right now, would completely fill that. That is how simple this software is to use. So no matter what it is that you're trying to convert something to, we can just click on that stitch, go to convert. I can make it an applique. That applique now has a placement line, a tack down line, and that satin stitch. And I can change that satin stitch to be a blanket stitch or whatever else if I wanted to. It's literally that straightforward to convert things in this software. I love that all I have to do is back click, go to that convert, and change it. It's that straightforward. All right, so I'm gonna go back to what I actually want it to be. All right, so I now have that running stitch. So basically what this is doing, in my quilting square is giving me a placement line for my batting.
Yep.
So this doesn't need to be a very tight stitch because I don't actually want it to be a heavy stitch.
Right.
So up at the top, right above that is my stitch length. And that can be really whatever I want it to be,
Yep.
Within reason.
Yeah,
If I
don't
tried to
get
make it
too
12, it wouldn't stitch anything because
Right.
my machine wouldn't know what the heck to do with that.
Right. It thinks it's a jump stitch.
It would think that whole thing is a jump stitch and nothing would
Just
stitch.
moves
It
and
would
stitch,
just move
jump.
around.
It would be
and
funny.
It would be a little entertaining, but you would be very frustrated. So don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
The default is going to be right around 3. But if I wanted that to be a little bigger, I could change that to 4 or 4.5 or something. And it would be more like a basting stitch if I wanted it to be a little bit larger. Again, personal choice.
Yep.
So just to be contrary, we're going to just change that because that way you guys can see how that works. We're going to add that, and it's now a 4.5 millimeter stitch length for that stitch. So that is that particular piece. On top of that, what do I need to do? I need to now do another one of those to tack that down.
So before you do any copying and pasting or adding, do you double check where your starts and stops are?
Usually, but sometimes I just do it all at the end.
At the end?
At the end. It depends on...
If you remember?
Sort of, but also it's been so long since I actually did this step. I
Yep.
usually just copy
Copy
them
and
from
paste,
something
yeah.
else, and that's already been done at this point. It's been a long time since I've actually started from scratch.
So I typically
So-
move my start and stop position at this point so that I know where I'm starting and stopping, because I'm typically going to continue to copy and paste from this file. And then it's always where
You
I want
always
it
know
to
where
be.
it's where you
Yes.
want. So, which is really a great thing, whether you're doing it here or at the end, as long as you are you're aware of that. So a start and a stop is exactly what that sounds like. You're telling the machine where to tack in and finish the stitch. So if I put the start here in the bottom left-hand corner and I put the stop in the upper right-hand corner, it wouldn't just go around one time because it would have to go 1.5 to find the end position. So for a square, my start and stop have to be in the same spot.
Exactly.
So all of these things do make sense if you stop and think about them. And when you are following your path, that's
Helpful.
and can sometimes be the hard part when it comes to this. Now a square is super simple.
Right.
We know where we're going in and we know where we're coming out. But
Yep.
when we start tracing balloons or cakes or,
It can be.
it can get
crazy.
like, okay, how can I get in and out and then get to the next spot that I want to be at and have it still flow?
Yes.
So sometimes that's the challenge, is your start and your stops
Yep.
point and getting the computer to do what you tell it to do.
Yes. Yes.
So to find your start and stop, we need to have that highlighted. We have our select arrow in the upper left-hand corner. So I'm all the way up and I'm right underneath that T. That's my select arrow. Right underneath that is my editing of the outlines, my angle lines, and my entry and my exit points. So when I click that, you'll now see that I have a red dot. And when I highlight right over top of that, I also get a green dot. The green is my go and the red is my stop. So that is my entry and my exit points, which means it's going to start and stop stitching in the upper left-hand corner, which is fine.
Yep. The only disadvantage to the upper left-hand corner is if you think about the placement of your embroidery module.
Where your foot's going to start and stop at.
Right, you will be very close to the inside edge of your embroidery module. If you were to move that over,
then you have hand space.
exactly, because
When's the last time you guys were trying to trim something in that upper left-hand corner without taking it out of the hoop? Your hand doesn't really fit
It doesn't.
between the foot and the embroidery arm if the foot is smack up there to
Yep.
that left-hand side.
that's my pet peeve.
So if we move everything, there's my stop point, here's my green, and I move that all the way over to the right. Now, when it starts and stops, our foot is going to be all the way to the right, which means we have a minimum of 6 inches plus between our embroidery arm and our foot.
Yep, so we have a little more wiggle room. I like to call that elbow area.
Elbow area is always good. So now if I click off of that, you can see that my little arrows there, it's showing me where my working area is.
Yep.
So I now have a start and stop in the upper right-hand corner, and I have a 4.5 inch stitch length.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't, for this, it doesn't really matter. But you can see all of those pieces right in front of you, and you can check it and make sure that you're good.
Yep.
So what I can do now is I can copy and paste. You can right-click, copy, right-click, paste. You can use the shortcuts on your keyboard if you are aware of what those are. You're not going to be able to see my right-click, but I apologize. So I'm going to click on copy, and then I'm going to paste. You now see that there is a second one here. What you can't see is there's a second one there too. All right. I'm going to move it back because it needs to be literally right on top of the other one, but I just wanted you to be able to see that that's there. So I'm going to just click on undo, and it's going to bounce right back on top of that. So this is my tack down. So this one I don't want to be the 4.5. It can still start and stop in that upper right-hand corner, but this one's a construction stitch. So I definitely want that to be a little bit closer together so that it's going to be a tighter stitch so that it's not loose and it's going to hang on to that. And I prefer that one to be a heavier stitch.
Yep.
So that my batting I can trim and not have to worry about the batting being snipped or the stitch being snipped as I'm trimming.
Yep.
So what stitch do you generally choose here?
I usually do between 1.8 and 2.
Okay. That's not what I meant. Not what size. What stitch itself?
Oh, I usually do basically a double run. So a running stitch 2 times.
Yep. Which I don't think it will let me do without literally just copying it on top of it.
That's what that's probably the easiest, just.
So
Yep.
the 2-ply should go twice, and the stitch length you can adjust. And again, there's not a specific right or wrong here. This is just a, you will work out your own preferences. I'm generally between 2 and 2.5, but there's not, again, a right or wrong. It's more a matter of making sure it's tacked down strongly. The double run is more important,
Yep.
Really, than the stitch length, at least big picture wise.
Absolutely.
That double run. So if you are, again, wanting to check, we can come over here and we can look at where we're at. Now, interestingly enough, it changed, even though I copied it, because I changed the length. I have found that it does like to move things when I change things. So even if I have moved all of my jumps and all of my trims, and then I'll make an adjustment to something else.
It like defaults back
It defaults back to its default of something, which I find annoying. However, I've learned that, so I'm like, okay,
Pay attention.
That's the last thing I'm going to do is change all those jumps, make sure everything else is good or something like that.
Yeah.
So, which is the other reason a lot of times I just wait for the end until I know where. But like I said, I haven't done this from scratch in a little while. So we have the ability to actually stitch this out. So if you aren't sure whether you're programming what you wanted to program, you can actually watch it stitch as you go. So if you're new to this and you're like, yeah, I have no idea what I'm doing here, we have this really cool thing called slow redraw. And what that will do is it'll actually stitch those different things out. Before I do that, let me change that color because I didn't do that yet. Dun, dun, dun. There we go. So we of course want it to stop in between those two pieces so we can put our batting in there. So I just changed the second piece there to a different color, so it will switch so that we have the ability to add our batting in there between those two stitches. So to do that, we just hit play, and it's going to do that first run, and then here's the second run, and it should go around twice. That's what we're really checking to look for, to make sure we chose the right stitch. So here it's going around that second time, and it is starting and stopping in that upper right hand corner for both stitches. So at this point, we know we did exactly what we wanted, and we can go back to our working phase and hit our select arrow. We've got a couple different things that we can do here. We can take those and copy them and then just adjust the size, or you can redraw all of that again.
Right.
So the fastest thing to do is to copy them and just change the size, which is what I generally do.
That's what I do too.
So I will select both of those. I copy them and then I paste them. So now I have a total of 4. And again, I'm down in that lower right-hand corner. You'll see I have 4 stitches listed. I'm going to select stitch color number 3 there. I am in the larger basting stitch length, which is great, but I now need to make that a little bit bigger because I need to make room for my seam allowance, which I didn't want my batting in. So this needs to be 6.5 by 6.5. So all I have to do is change that and save. And now I have, look at that, I have a seam allowance.
Woohoo.
I need to repeat that with the outer box as well. And I'm just making that change in that beautiful transform purple box up at the top and clicking apply. How many times have you typed something and forgot to hit apply?
A lot.
Yeah. So if you're ever wondering why something didn't do what you told it to do, it's probably because you forgot to hit apply.
Or I hit apply before I put the second measurement in.
Something to that effect.
Yeah.
So if we are looking for the details, we can tap, we can check the stitch length, we can check the stitch size, we can select, check the stitch length, check the stitch size, so we're good. The other thing is we can see that little pointing of the arrows, so we know that we are still in that upper right-hand corner for our starts and stops, which means we're right where we want to be. So all of our starts and stops are in that upper right-hand corner, and our foot isn't going to be dragging all over the place, moving around in our hoop, taking up more time.
Yep. And once you have this base piece, now you have kind of like a template. So now is a good time to go to your file and save this, because if you save this as sort of a working file that you can come back to, then you know, then you can make a whole bunch of templates. So you can have your 6,
make it a 4 by 4,
your 8, your 4 by 6, your whatever.
Whatever it is, you just change the numbers like we just did. And all you have to do, you've already got your stitch lengths, you've got your start stops all set, and then you just add in the quilting.
Yep.
So you don't have to recreate these all the time, which is why I said it's been so long since I've done this.
Exactly.
Because I just keep pulling in from what I've already created. So I don't have to keep doing that over and over again.
Right. Right.
So to do that, we are going to go up in our upper left-hand corner, just like normal programs. We hit File, we hit Save As, and it is going to come up with that C2S file extension, and that is the working file in this program. You don't want to save it in your PES or whatever your native format is for your computer, because that's not a working file, and that isn't something that is changeable in
when you make the changes in the sizes, strange things can happen.
Yes, it's not a complete file if it's still in a C2S. Once you save it as a PES, as far as the machine is concerned, it's finished. You're not going to change it again.
Right.
In the C2S, it just allows you to continue to play and make adjustments.
Because it hasn't really been converted yet.
Because it hasn't been converted yet.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of lets you continue to play. So we would just take that and say 6 by 6 base or something like that, and then we would save it in your this is, you can even see it's my quilting ideas folder. And you would save that to wherever you have your basic working
folders.
files
Yep.
at. So that is that simple to create your bases. Once you have that, you're going to start filling them in.
Absolutely.
So what I generally do is I don't freehand. I'm not that good of an artist, especially by clicking by mouse.
Yeah, me either.
If I am on a piece of paper, I don't suck quite as bad, but I still am not great.
Oh, I do. I'm terrible. I'm a terrible drawer.
So if you are not terrible, you can come up here at the top. There is a run path that you can just click and do. So if you wanted to do that, you could click on it. I'm going to hold in my control key so it's curved paths. If I just wanted to doodle freely, I can click to get it started. You can see that I'm dragging a line. I got to click to get started. If I hold my control in, it's going to be curved. And then I can just click and doodle.
That's a pretty good loop you got there. You've been drawing loops today, haven't you?
Not today.
No.
But as you can see, it's hard to keep them balanced.
It's like free motion quilting.
It is. All right, that's not actually as sucky as I expected it to be.
Good job.
To finish, so I finished drawing a line, I'm done. I back click somewhere, all right? And it finishes my line. So that would be done, all right? If I go back up and I want to see my starts and stops, I can see where I started is green, where I stopped is red. So sometimes you bumped something and you didn't mean to stop. That's happened.
Yep.
That's happened a whole heck of a lot. It really stinks. Maybe I decided I needed additional something somewhere. You can add. So I can go to that line and I can right click and add a point. And I can add some curve and pull it out and make some more bends or what, you can adjust what you already drew by adding or deleting a point, expanding those out. You can delete points, like I said. These are all curved lines. You can also make a straight point, so a hard angle, and make that a line. So now I have an actual hard point. So you can change the lines that you already clicked and have those in there as well. So if you're literally just doodling, you can do that. It's a lot harder than it looks, all right? So what we both, I think, generally do is bring in, I'm just going to select that and get rid of it because I don't like it. Oh, you can't delete in that. You have to select it, literally select it. All right, so what we both generally do is, like we said, go to the internet, get something that we can draw on top of.
Yep.
And then bring that in and connect those pictures together.
Yep.
So if I go back to that quilting idea folder where I save all of my fun, oh, that looks cool. I would like to draw that in a quilting design. Over here in the center of your left-hand column, these are all your different tools and different things that you have the ability to do. We've got a backdrop tool available. When we click on that, it says to select, and it automatically goes to my my folder that I've saved. So this banner tool This banner picture came out really cute. This cake was really cute. I drew a lot of balloons. This cupcake. Let's draw a cupcake. What do you think?
Yeah.
All right. So if I think that cupcake, I'm going to make it a lot bigger. So when it is selected, I can change the size of my picture. All right. So if I wanted to, I can put it at an angle so he's not completely boring looking, okay? I can mirror image it if I wanted to by literally messing with, once I have it drawn, I can flip it. You can do lots of different things, but I need something to start with, right? You have to have an idea. So there's an obvious endpoint with the little bow that's wrapped around it. That's where I'm gonna start. So the first thing that I do is I kind of plan it before I start drawing. If you just start drawing, you're going to end up going over the same spot multiple times, which you don't necessarily want to do. So I'm like, okay, if I start where that bow is and I loop and I loop, now where do I want to go? You know, so you've got to kind of look at that and plan a direction.
All right, maybe straight across.
You know, so you can go this way.
And maybe down.
And I think when
yeah.
I did that, I actually connected those lines to the bottom. So I
Yeah.
just came all the way up like this, so on and so forth, and then came up and went around. You could draw a cherry up there if you wanted to add a cherry. Drew a squiggly line here. Nope, I think I went down and connected that because I didn't have that. Oh, maybe I did. Came around here, and then I'm over here, and I've got the whole thing drawn. So now I have an exit point because I've got it all drawn. Now I can do a loopy-loo and come out, and I can then finish because I've got something I can connect to from another design or something like that. So once I have that image, I still need that run tool that I had before, but I kind of have a plan. I'm going to draw the bow. I'm going to do a straight line. I'm going to draw the bottom, and then I'm going to do the frosting. So I kind of have in my head what I'm going to do. But I want that to be a lot closer to see what's going on. So the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of the selection tool around my picture. So I'm going to get my regular arrow. I'm going to zoom in. All right. So I can see what's going on here a lot better, maybe just a little less. There we go. All right, I'm going to go back up to the top where it says run. So that is my little backwards S tool here. And I'm going to click on that. And I just have a plus arrow. So since I'm just in a run, there's no square, there's no tool that's showing me what shape because it doesn't know. If I just click a straight line, it's straight points. If I click in a line, but I'm holding my control down, it curves. If I hit my back click button, it finishes the line. Those are your digitizing rules in a nutshell. Click, 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 it's a straight line. Click, click, click while holding in the control, it's a curved line. Back click finishes.
Yep.
That's it. All right, so we're going to come over here and I'm going to go to the end of, I don't know if you guys can see that little plus sign very easily. I'm at the bottom of that little bow. So I always generally, I will start with a straight line because when you start with the curve, it a lot of times goes
weird.
Really weird. So I always start with a small straight line. And then I'll follow that up. And I'm just going to come around. I'm going to give it a little point at the bottom of that bow. And then I'm going to make another curve around the other bow. And then I'm going to come in it straight. So I'm letting go of my control. Now I've clicked, I'm at the base of my bow, and I'm going to come across so you can see where my line is here. I'm going to come across. Actually can go all the way across. It's close enough to where it needs to be. And I'm all the way on the other side of the bottom of the cupcake. And I'm going to click over there. So now I need to come down and work across the bottom.
And the clicks are not stitches.
They are not.
So they are nodes that you can kind of rearrange, but they are not going to be representative of how close your stitches are. You will set your stitch length later on. So
the clicks are, when you're closer together, it will curve. If, you know, a little bit. So these bottom lines here, you know, I clicked closer, so it's not, even though it's straight, it's not going to, you know, be too awful.
Right, it's not harsh.
It's not that harsh corner.
Right.
And if you click right on top of a previous click, it's going to, in theory, line up. So you're stitching on top of your previous stitch line. But like she said, you're not delineating where that's stitching at.
No.
Just the direction that it's going.
Yep.
All right. So I'm now underneath those lines. And like I said, I'm going to come up and just go all the way from the bottom up. So I'm going to click up and then come back down and go over to the next guy and keep doing that. are not straight.
The nice thing is that your this part doesn't have to be perfect.
It does not.
You're looking for your rough shape of your design, and you can go back in and edit the points to get better shaping. So this is definitely your rough draw.
So one of the nice things is the original shape isn't going to be there. So nobody's going to know, not even you.
Right.
Once you get rid of the back image, you're not even going to know exactly, you know, so you're just looking for that roundabout piece, and then you can tweak it.
Tweak it, yes.
So we'll get rid of the pictures as soon as I make my way around here, and we'll show you how to do that, and then we'll take any questions that pop up, and we'll wrap up.
Yeah.
All right, so I am now going to hold in my control key to do these curves because I do want them to until I get into that little dip point, and then I want it to be a little bit harder and sharper point to come into the little dips there. So a little sharp point there, sharp point at the top here. So no control being held as we get into those sharper areas, but the control key is down for the other spots. And you can change that later, but it's a lot easier if you just do it the first time. So there's my doodle out. So I've got an easy connection point. I don't have to go, now which one of those is my finish?
That should be our sign off. Doodle out.
Doodle out. Ding! So what I have found is sometimes a pain is when I don't do that. I'm like, which dot is the stitch out?
Yes.
And then you're like pulling on all of them, trying to find which one was the last one, and
Yep.
and it takes way too long. So that's my little tip. Get a little bit going out of the stitch, and then you're like, oh, it's so much easier. Even if you don't need, it's really easy to delete them.
Those, yeah.
But at least you know which one it is.
Absolutely.
So now I'm going to get rid of my image. I can come back up to where I picked it up and hit delete, or I can come down to the bottom and just turn it off. Either one will do that. So there's my cupcake. Super easy to see it. I'm going to get rid of that upper line there. All right, so there's the cupcake, and I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you guys can see it's a decent sized cupcake. We could thoroughly enjoy that as a snack. That's a nice sized cupcake.
I don't know. I don't think Tucker would share that one with us.
I don't think she would either, but I don't think she'd share any cupcake with us, to be honest.
I would cut it in half.
So I can see already I've got some points that don't line up right where I would like them. So what I have found is, one, we can click on the outlines in your entry points. So what that does is it shows me all of my click points. So what that does is I can move them to line up so that would give me a little bit nicer stitch out so that they're on top of each other. But even when, as we said, these are not actual stitches. This is just where you're guiding it. So, you know, this is a little bit crooked. It would drive me crazy. But that's not going to guarantee it's going to stitch better. So what, the more that you do this, the more that you learn. If you come into the actual stitches, this is what it would actually stitch point. And this, you can adjust your jumps, your trims, all of those different things if you are needing to.
Yeah.
So
connecting or filling.
when you're connecting things and so on and so forth. So this is what you're actually getting stitch-wise. And that is the third, well, I guess it's the fourth if you count the knife. So this, I can actually come in here and I can move my actual stitches, or I can delete a stitch, or so on and so forth. So I can really smooth out and make this cleaner.
Yeah, why do it twice?
So, don't waste the time. So this corner is looking really rough, in my opinion. And we can go in there and zoom in and go, okay, would I really care? Well, maybe, maybe not. It's probably fine, but I can fix it, so why not? And I can insert another stitch if I wanted to give me a little bit more of an angle. So, those kinds of things. So if I needed to, I could make that adjustment. Anyway, there's certainly a lot more that you can do to clean those things up. But in all reality, they're probably small enough that you're not going to see, depending upon the size of whatever it is that you're doing, you very well may not see any of that. So make sure that you are looking, but pay attention to what the reality of whatever it is that you're doing is as well. So the first arrow at the top on the left-hand side is your selection tool. So that would allow you to reselect and maneuver around. The next one down is your stitch points and your start and stop points. So if I wanted to take that and copy it, I can take it and I need another one. So I can copy it and add another one. And now maybe I want to mirror image it and I want to pick up and, blend those two. So I need the start point to be over here. I now need to change and have the start point to be on this side instead of the other, so that they would be able to be met up with each other. And I can delete points and so on and so forth. So that is where those benefits of being able to see where your start stops are and be able to move them. So that when it stitches those out, they blend. So you need the stop of the first one to be the start of the next. And then you would literally go in there and go, okay, well, there's too many in here. I don't need all of these stitches. I can get rid of all of those doodles, right? And then blend in to join up with the previous stitch. And take that one and then they connect.
Absolutely.
So then you can see where those two connect. The stop of the first one on the left picks up and joins in with the beginning one of the stitch on the right. So in a nutshell, in a really quick, this is how you do it. That's how you do it.
Yeah, and then you can just keep doing the same thing. So use those tools, move your starts and stops, and that's the gist of what we do when we are
creating
quilting designs. Yeah.
Yeah. So, copies and pastes are really a lot of it, but drawing on a picture is, it's a cheat, but at the same time, if you can't draw,
Yes.
that's what we do.
Yep.
So there is no reason to not make use of images that are out there. As long, if you are drawing them, you're still drawing them. So
Yep.
it's not, stealing
No,
per se,
absolutely not.
and there are some things out there that you can look at to get inspired that are not images. I don't see any questions popping up, so we'll go from there. So there are books that you can get that have doodles in them that can, say, okay, if you're just looking for simple lines versus, a cake or a cupcake or whatever, and you just want to see an image of, and then copy those kind of thing. There's, I just needed something to get my brain going.
Yep.
There's all kinds of ideas and things out there. So, what you don't want to do is look at someone else's quilt square, put that image up there, and then draw on top of their lines. That's not cool.
No, absolutely not.
But, if you're getting an inspiration from an image that you saw out there and you're like, hey, that's really neat, I want to do something with that, and tweaking it and moving it around, it's a lot of fun. And you can make the perfect block for anything.
Right, absolutely. And, we said we would quickly talk about the pros and cons of the different types of software. So,
so again, this is Dime.
This is Dime, and the Emily Scott Designs are using the free version of this tool shed for her new Pro program. And part of the reason why she has chosen to use that is because in this C2S file extension, because there's no stitches there yet, you have the ability to manipulate the design. You can make it bigger and you can make it smaller. And it sort of does a really fantastic job of recalculating the portions so that your stitches still look good later on. And so the Pro version doesn't actually have PES files or VIP files or EXP files. It's just the native.
The C2S, you would bring it into the program, decide the size that you want, and
then
save it to whatever you need.
Right. So it kind of will do that. But leading up to that point, that is another form of free software that you can kind of open up and view design. So if you don't own any software whatsoever, the C2S file or the toolshed file will allow you to actually view some native embroidery designs, and there is no charge for that particular software. So it's completely free. So if you have nothing else, and then a good thing about like third-party software is that they're not native to any one particular brand. So if you own multiple brands of software, this software has been designed to work well with everybody. So, you know, if you're saving it to your brother, or you're saving it to your Viking, or you're saving it to your Bernina, the likelihood is that this is going to save to those file extensions, and it's going to do a very good job, and your machines are going to read that well. Not to say that our Baby Lock and our Brother software do not do that, but they are focused on Brother and Baby Lock stuff. So they will have some unique things
They're
to
going
them.
to have some features to their program that are specifically designed to work in their machines, which we talked about last week. You know, one of those things that, so, you know, the Brother and Baby Locks, specifically full digitizing software. In Baby Locks, it's called Palette, and in Brother, it is called PE, fill in the number, so PE Design, and we're currently on 11. So that is the full version. Brother also makes softwares called BES. It is designed mostly for lettering. It does a little bit of other stuff, but that's their big claim to fame, are lettering, monogramming, different things. They have a lot of applique stuff in there. And it's wonderful software. But those are specific. So there was a question about Brother. So I just wanted to make sure I made that clear as to which things
they
that
have
Brother had.
a variety. Some other simply applique stuff, and a varying versions of BES. There's a simplistic version of Blue, and then they have different power packs. And but the BES software is definitely it is compatible with the machines, but it's not.
It's not a full digitizing.
Right, and it's not upgradable like later on. Like if there's a new version of BES.
It is what it is.
It will, yes.
It is all what it will ever be.
Yes, whereas Brother and Palette, the Baby Lock software, you can upgrade to those versions later on and get different features. But you do have to pay for those, so that would be a con.
So the Brother and Baby Lock's full digitizing softwares are a little bit less to get into out of the gate. But when you go to upgrade or date them, there is a cost to do the upgrades. For Floriani or Dime, they're a little bit more expensive up front. But all upgrades are free. Once you buy in, you're done. You will never have to spend money on it again. So everything is free once you get there. The big differences between the two from a usage standpoint, Brothers and Baby Locks have a dongle. So they're a dongle-based program, which means they're now on a USB drive, not the big box if you have an older version. But you have to have that dongle plugged into your software, into your computer for the software to open. Dimes and Floriani's do not, but you can only have 2 versions running. So, you know, if you have a desktop and you have a laptop, that's it. you can't keep loading, you know, where Dime has the limitation, and Floriani have that limitation. It's not a bad limitation, it's realistic. But on
So you
Brother,
can't share it with all your friends.
right, Brother and Baby Locks, you could literally load it
On 100
100 computers, but it will only open on whatever one you plug in that
the
dongle.
key in, yep.
So you have to have the key to open it. So that is the big difference logistically between those. So I have Brothers, and I use it a lot. It depends a lot on what I'm doing, which one I will grab. And I use the Dime a lot. I haven't used Floriani as much of late. Floriani and Dimes are very similar in a lot of ways. Yes, as Sarah said, do not lose your dongle. Very important.
Yeah, we
that
can
is
replace the software CD or link to that.
But we can't replace your dongle. So
and
unfortunately,
if it breaks or your dog eats it, you need the
find the pieces and bring it back. You know, follow the dog, clean up after them. If you catch the drift, bring the pieces because we can't just give you another one. So anyway, sorry, the vision is just.
I know, right?
But yeah, so yeah.
Yeah, the Floriani and
Yeah, they're
super similar.
They are. There are definitely differences. Don't misunderstand. Floriani has what they call their one-click wonders. There's buttons along the bottom, so that right-click change to this. With Floriani, you would highlight it and then go down there and click whichever button instead of the right-click and drop-down thing. So I mean, they're both very straightforward and simple in that aspect. I personally like the drop-down menu. But the Floriani's works very simply from that aspect as well. So it is.
I don't own Floriani software, but and I never have. So I do have the Dime software. They you couldn't see the drop down menus, but when you hover over any of these icons, if you are connected to the internet, and there's a video on how all of them work, which is really, really great. And Dime is doing, so Ashley, we love Ashley.
I love Ashley.
If you are on the Dime Facebook or YouTube channel, she is doing a software, like every month she's doing a software.
First and third Tuesday.
Yeah.
It's twice a month, I believe.
And she's done, they're phenomenal. And she's kind of going through a variety of different software. She's doing Word Art and Stitches last week, or the week before and this week. She does a phenomenal job, but they are really stepping up their education game on embroidery software. And she really is the whiz. I mean, when we have questions about software, she's who we call. So, you know, she definitely can answer those questions. And I'm always amazed. It's not in my brain. Like if somebody calls and asks me a software question, if I'm physically not in front of the software, I couldn't tell you where the button was. My brain just will not remember that. As soon as I see the software, I'm like, oh yeah, it's in the left-hand corner. But I cannot recall that up there. But she's pretty good about just on the fly. Oh, it's this button, it's under here. And I'm always amazed when people can do that because I just don't have that ability. Like I know where it's at when I'm looking at it, but if I'm not looking at it, my brain is like, good luck.
Sorry.
It's kind of like directions. I need the GPS to get there. So, or you got to tell me it's on the other side of Taco Bell.
Landmarks. It's all about the landmarks.
The landmarks, yes.
All about the landmarks. So hopefully that helped it all make sense for those of you. You know, there's a lot of buttons we didn't even talk about. There are a lot of buttons in there. And yes, we certainly can add more different things in. I have a whole list of videos I would love to do and add onto the website on lots of different softwares. Unfortunately, there's only so many hours in the day.
Yeah. But this is kind of fun because we were able to do like a very specific thing. And I know we have a lot of customers who they want to do this.
Yeah.
But they look at all this stuff and they think digitizing, or they think the answer is auto digitizing, and it's not.
It isn't. Yeah.
So really, it's not that difficult. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. And you know, after you do things a little bit, you'll be like, oh, why won't it do this? Then it's easier to find the answer because you can talk sort of knowledgeable about what you were doing. So definitely open up the software, you know, replay the video, touch the buttons, and you can do it. We know you can, right?
Absolutely.
If I can, you can.
All right.
And get a mouse if you don't have one.
Yes, you absolutely need to use a mouse. Most definitely need the mouse. All right, guys, that's what we've got. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next time. Adios.